I saw that on your LinkedIn page, you posted a couple days ago that you hired your first business development person.
Hmm.
Is that like a sales focused person for inbound? Is it account management?
Yeah, so up until now, we've been really lucky to have really great partnerships with many gifting platforms, Sendoso and Postal and Reach Desk, really these corporate gifting platforms. And so we were managing the swag for those platforms. So it was some really good partnerships during the early days where it really helped us get our name out. And we never really focused on outbound sales. Um, and so a couple of weeks ago, we hired our first outbound sales rep, who's building email marketing campaigns, phone calls every day, just working on spreading the word. Just because everybody needs promo products, it's just about getting your name in their minds at the right time, which is going to be his job.
That is really cool. We talk a lot about that on the show of building an outbound channel that's a little bit more predictable than just relying on pure inbound.
Mhm.
What have you done to set them up though? Because I think the next question is, all right, um, you know, maybe I need to give them a list of leads to now reach out for, or I need to, give them some structure. How have you set that foundation, or what have you done there?
Yeah, so we've really found that phone calls are a lot more effective than emails. We find, especially in the print and promo space, the emails can kind of come off as spammy. And a lot of people are getting a bunch of emails like these every day. Um, and they're most likely not going to respond or even read the email. And so what we've found more success is calling, having a conversation with someone. Um, so then, getting phone numbers is a lot more difficult than getting an email address. We've been using a couple different platforms, Apollo.io, Zoom Info, and this new platform that we just started using for phone numbers called Cognism. All of them kind of specialize in building searches for, let's say you want to reach out to the marketing person at a company in the tech industry at 50 to 200 people companies. So you can create those different lists. You might get 200 people that show up on the list, and then you can just get their email, their phone number, and you can just start calling.
That is super straightforward. That makes a ton of sense. All right. So Apollo, I think it's Apollo.io
Mhm.
is the website that you can sign up for. The Zoom info is another good one that you mentioned. There's a bunch of these that, yeah, you can create these different types of filters for who your ideal customer is and then get their contact info, which is pretty wild, but it works. So when they call them, they're calling and emailing. Are you sending like a GIF, like a here's exactly what we do? Like how are you trying to stand out, right? Because on the flip side, a lot of people also receive a lot of calls as well. Maybe not as much to the scale as email, but
A lot of the promo outbound is email based, maybe, direct mail based. But what we've been finding is a lot of people aren't actually getting phone calls, which is interesting. So we've been trying to target who's the actual user who has the pain point, right? So everyone wants to sell into marketing, right? Because they have the biggest budgets. But if you're calling the director of marketing, right, and you're trying to pitch them, they don't they don't think that there's any pain points with how the conference team is purchasing swag and getting it to the booth, right? Because they think everything is working perfectly. But once you actually deal with the marketing associate, right, who's actually boots on the ground at the conference, who's working with the vendor because they didn't put the right label on the box, right? Once you talk to them and say, listen, we know that you are purchasing a ton of swag for all of your conferences, and boxes are always getting lost, and it's such a headache. We do these four different things to make sure that your life is easier. It's a much easier conversation because we know exactly the pain point that they have.
And then the other tricky part that people run into is compensation structure. So, how do you motivate how do you motivate people to work these leads down the funnel? Like what are the points that you'll maybe commission on? Is it, number of calls? Is it just plain closed deals? Is that the easiest? Because I think some people, we tend to make it too complicated at first, and then it's hard to motivate because people can't just in real time calculate what they're going to make on an order. What have you figured out there?
Right. Yeah. And, just to start, it's a really tough job. It is brutal,
It is.
grinding
It's a
every
grind.
day. You're getting hung up on, yelled at. It's a really difficult job. And so what we've done is we set up a base salary with benefits and healthcare, so that they don't have to worry about, if they're going to be able to pay rent, right?
Mhm.
And then we set it so that they're motivated enough to want to actually go out there and sell and hustle, right? Where the base isn't enough to be their total annual compensation. And then we just give them a bonus based on every closed deal, right? So we don't care if they make 15 calls or 200 calls per day, because they're not getting paid per call. They're not getting paid per meeting booked with us. They're getting paid per a percentage of the order that they're actually bringing in.
But do you measure the steps to get to the order sold? Because this other issues I've had, and maybe this was just because it was the wrong person, but they didn't understand that it was a funnel, right? You had to make 100 calls today to maybe get 10 on the phone to have closed, be able to send out 5 quotes and then close like 2. So are you reviewing those metrics too? Or it's just, hey, look, here's here's what I think you need to be successful. Here's the numbers that you should hit. And then you're compensated based on closing deals. So go ahead and get it.
Yeah, we've really just tried to keep it simple, saying, we know that, it might take 4 steps to actually get that person to purchase their first order. But you're going to get a percentage of every order that they place. So if it's the first order and you brought them in, or they purchase 2 orders that year and you didn't have to deal with them for the second and third order, you're still going to get a percentage of every order that they bring in.
Got it. Does the commission percentage change depending on the product category? So like, apparel is 5%, promo products 10% or whatever.
No, we just keep it flat across the board.
Got it. That's pretty cool. Is that roughly in the range? It's like sub 10%?
Yeah.